All right, guys, here we are, game week. I guess this is supposed to be a game press conference, so I'll give a few opening comments. The guys worked really hard in camp. We transitioned to game preparation last week, and we're kind of repeating that this week. And so today is a Wednesday, actually, of game prep. So now we're coming on the back half of the week, and it's been hot, so it's been a challenge. These last two practices have been hard for the guys. We're a little beat up. You know, I told you I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but you'll see some young faces out there that you haven't seen play before. And, obviously Mose is a season-ending injury. Right now there's no other season-ending injuries, but there's some that are single or multiple game injuries. So we're just going to have to work our way through it.
You've been around a lot of these. You've been around a lot of these season openers at this point. I'm just curious, do some season openers feel different than others, and is this one of them for you?
Not really for me. We haven't played the game yet as this team, the 24 team. So I only know one way, and that's full speed. Run scared, as my mentor taught. You run scared, you get ready to go. Not scared of your opponent, not scared of the situation. Just check under every rock, make sure you've gone through everything over and over again. Situations that, you haven't played a game in a long time. So just make sure you keep doing it over and over again so the guys are ready and comfortable. There's an old saying, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. And we got to make sure that we're trained in everything we're doing, and then we're ready to play. Whoever's healthy, we got to go out and play.
Greg, Kirk previously talked about year one and year two making a step up at his previous stops. Have you seen enough where you're confident that trend could continue with the offense this season under his direction?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. Yeah, I think we're more cohesive. We understand it better. But again, you got to go do it, right? I mean, practice is everything to us. We believe that. But then you have those 12 games that you got to go do it. Otherwise, it's just a thought. So now they're coming, right? We've been preparing long enough, since January, preparing for this. So looking forward to getting out and playing a game.
What does Ethan have to do in your mind for you to think his debut was a success?
Just do his job. Yep. No different than any other position, although it's much different because he touches the ball every play. But within his realm of the big job he has to just, we say chop your job. He's got to chop his job one play at a time. Doesn't need to do anything special, just needs to do what he's coached to do or trained to do.
Just the last couple of years for Sam Brown, obviously a little choppy because of the injuries. I guess, what are your expectations for him this year?
Well, Sam, I think, is in a good place. He did get bumped earlier in camp, so he missed some time. So he's not all the way back by any means. But my expectation is he's really looked good both before he was bumped and then since he's been back. So we have some depth in the running back room, and we need to make sure we utilize that.
What are you expecting to see from Howard on Thursday?
They're a really well-coached team. I know their coach well. Go back a long time. He was at South Florida. I coached his little brother at University of Miami. I guess it's his little brother, little or older. I don't know what it is, but I coached one of his family members at Miami, and I followed his career. He was at South Florida for all our great games over the years, and then he was at Miami and then at Tennessee. So he's coached, and a lot of his coaches on his staff, I know them. They're experienced coaches, so it's a very well-coached team. They really challenge you schematically, and they have some really good players. They have some guys on the Senior Bowl watch list. Their safety number 0 is, I think he'd play anywhere. Really, really fine player. Both their running backs are really good players, 2 and 5. One of them I know is dad, Edgerrin James from Miami. So, look, this is it's going to be a challenge. We got to get our guys ready to go. We're a little bit shorthanded. That's a fact. And we got to figure out a way to go score one more.
7-6 last year, bowl victory. You said after that, you guys reached a significant mile marker, and you used the Parkway Turnpike reference. This year, what's the next step for this program? And if you want to use your mile marker again, what would that be?
Yeah, it's so hard to say, right? Like, you'd like to say, well, it was 7-6, so let's make it 9-4, whatever. Everybody likes to do that. You never know what's going to unfold. It's just that's the way it is. I didn't expect not to have Mo Toure. Well, you wake up one morning and you don't have Mo Toure anymore. So I don't ever get into that game. That's fun for media and fans, and I understand why you do it. What else are you going to do all week while you're waiting? Well, I got a job to do all week that pertains to that score, that win that you're talking about. So I don't really get caught up in that. I get caught up in the process. I try to get our team to get caught up in the process. Certainly with people talking about it, I need to sometimes bring our guys, hey, guys, listen now. The only thing that matters is right here and now, right? And we believe practice is everything. I mean, it's just something that's been as long as we've been together. Practice is everything, and you win the game on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and then you go out and claim it on Saturday. So that's what we're in the midst of right now. And it's been a tough week. But, we're not, we have some injuries. The easy thing to do is, we better lighten up on them. We can't do that. This is a long season, and we're preparing this team for the opening game, but we're also preparing the team all during training camp for the season.
Real quick, just on special teams specific, go big picture, small picture.
Right.
Return game last year, what was your impression of the return game, and what's your plan this season?
Our return game? Very selective. Yeah, very, very selective. We return kicks when we think it benefits us. So we had the number one kickoff return team in America last year, and we returned 5 total kicks. So what does that tell you about stats? They can be very misleading, right? We're gonna do a very good job, in my opinion, of managing risk, managing opportunity. That's the business we're in the kicking game. But where there's an opportunity, we really try to take advantage of it, and where there's risk, we try to kind of lay low. And that's always been our philosophy, but probably more so now than ever. But I don't know, maybe I don't know why.
To follow up to Pat's question, do you understand though why there's so much optimism around this team from the outside?
I do. I mean, we made progress. We have experienced players. But then I also know what happened, right? One of the best players, not one of them, maybe the best player on our team, we lost for the season. You wake up one morning and he's not able to play anymore. So I understand how fragile it is. And if I or anybody in this organization starts to think the way that you guys are talking, it's been said many times. It's like poison. If it sits on the table, it doesn't do anything to anybody. The minute you put it in and drink it, now it's a big problem you got. And we have to stay focused on the job at hand. There's pieces are always changing. The narrative's always changing. You always have to be ready to pivot. And that's a big job. Just getting a team ready mentally, physically, and emotionally to go play is a big job every week. So you can't, at least I don't have the capacity to do more than that. Maybe some guys do.
Greg, when you mentioned Mo's injury for the first time, you mentioned Abram Wright as well. What kind of role do you expect him to play this year?
Well, Abe, you saw him kind of come onto the scene a little last year, right, on teams and also on third down. Abe has had a good camp. Abe is a very able linebacker now, no pun intended. But he's seeing it better. He's really athletic, can run, he'll hit. He'll do all those things. So I think he's got a bright future. We're going to keep shoving him out there in different roles. And I think, with Choppa or DJ and Moses Walker, I think those guys are feeling it. And we'll see what we do with Tyreem. That'll be kind of a late decision. And we'll make a decision here and haven't made it yet.
We'll go to Dom, Brian, Kristen.
A little more broadly on the linebacker room, how have they responded in the last week or two since Mo's injury?
Well, I think it's bigger than the linebacker room. I think it's the team. You not only lose a really fine player, you lose kind of I don't know what the word is, the alpha on the team. That's what Mo is and Mo was. So now, is there one guy who steps up and fills that? No, it'll be a combination of guys, right? And that's when I was talking with Steve, and that's why when things change, it takes so much to get it all patched up again, right? And to get it, because you still got to, no one wants to hear that you lost this guy, you lost that. That's nobody's problem but ours. You got to figure out you're a problem solver, and you got to figure out how you're going to fix that up so you can go out and win football games. And that takes an incredible amount of time and effort. And Mo was a lot of things to this team, including being a really fine linebacker.
2 quick ones, if you'll indulge me. You mentioned being banged up at injuries. Is there a position group in particular that's been hit harder than others, or I know you don't want to say the players got hurt, but is there a position group that's?
Yeah, I'm gonna just wait till we put out the availability report on that. There's no reason to let them know who it is now.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier in camp pretty much having your offensive line set. Would you mind telling us who your starting 5 offensive linemen are?
There's some injuries there that I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm not being evasive. I'm just telling you, I'm not going to let them know. Yeah, there are some injuries. Will they play? I don't know. They might, right? But that's, the one thing is, again, I agree with what we're doing as a league, But this is an out-of-conference game, so they're going to get a availability report 2 hours before kickoff. We're not, which is a little bit of a disadvantage, but it is what it is.
Coach, last year, looking at the numbers with Kyle, almost 40% of his yards came in the fourth quarter. And you talk about guys who get better as the game goes along. What are the traits that he has that leads to that?
Well, I think that's multifaceted stat, right? Number one, he does get stronger as the game goes on. And people say that. I think he does a little bit. I think other people get more tired, and he doesn't. Like, he runs the same way in play 1 that he does in play 40, play 60, play 80. And the other thing is you have to be in games where either you're leading or it's a close game where you can run the ball. You know, the first few years back, oftentimes we found ourselves down multiple scores where you had to throw it or you weren't going to have a chance to see a chance for victory, right? So I think it's helped us a lot that we've been either in games more or winning games where we get to keep feeding him the ball. But he is a guy that, you know, he's such a tough guy, and he's low to the ground. He's very strong, so he can continually play with leverage. And one of the things that happens to players as they get tired, they get higher and higher and higher. He's got natural leverage, and he really stings you. And you look at a lot of his runs in the end of the game, it's, you know, after contact yards that he makes. And he's gifted that way. Like, he does that all the time. His feet never stop. His legs are churning. It's one of the things that I think makes him an elite running back. All right, guys, thank you.